We got bonus content right here for Locked On Celtics listeners. Thank you for being here. It's a normally Monday through Friday podcast, but if you're just catching this is your first experience, this is bonus content. We're going to do this every once in a while, giving you a little extra conversation. And I'm bringing in Tom Westerholm here. I'm John Karalis, by the way. I'm covering the Celtics for SI's Locked On. What am I doing? SI's.
You really had to think about that one.
So it's funny when I do my normal intro, I can do it without thinking, like just whatever. Now when I do something else, who am I? Oh yeah, that's who I am. So John Karalis here. Hi, been covering the Celtics for 20 years, doing this podcast for 10. We're doing bonus content here. Joe Mazzulla versus Ime Udoka. We just had a conversation on the podcast, the full podcast, about Joe Mazzulla Coach of the Year. But
spoiler, we're in favor.
Yes, but go listen to that podcast anyway. But this was posed by a Houston Rockets account, and basically the question is like, how do you feel about Ime now, and how do you feel about Ime versus Joe Mazzulla? And like when Ime got fired or suspended before he got fired, I knew Joe like had to be the choice because he was kind of like the only one there that didn't have a connection to Ime, and he like him getting the job meant like it wasn't going to be Will Hardy. It wasn't going to be like one of the other assistants that was kind of connected to Ime. So, there was not going to be like that. Oh, he's still coaching via this guy. But Brad always believed in him. And now we see why. He's a little crazy.
Danny Ainge also really believed in Joe Mazzulla.
Yes.
Yeah, interestingly enough. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, he wanted to hire him.
Yeah.
He wanted to hire Joe Mazzulla. And so, yeah. And he settled for Joe Mazzulla's brother, which joke, but he did get Joe Mazzulla's brother, which was one of the funnier kind of interactions, by the way, with Joe. We're like, oh, so you're playing your brother tonight? He's like, he's on the other team. But is there anything that's like, no, he's on the other team. I don't care. He's on the other team. He's an enemy now. And like, it's a good place to start because Joe, that's how Joe is. We look at him versus Ime, and Ime was like the right guy at the right time and got them to the finals. And who knows what they would have been with Ime if he had stuck around. But Ime going to Houston and having that whole thing kind of fall apart, I don't know, man. Obviously, you look at the situation like this worked out very well. Joe Mazzulla I think when history is written and we look at these two coaches at the end of their careers, I think Joe Mazzulla's career is just going to be like, whoa, this is like Ime's going to be fine. And who knows, he might win a championship or two, whatever. Joe I would be shocked if he finishes his career with one championship.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the most interesting things to me about that question that Red 94 posed is when you compare Ime and Joe, right? Ime's whole thing was really like, toughness, like, getting your players, like, like what are you going to be, like a pansy, like get up to it, right? And it's interesting, right? Because like, he had this kind of whole hardo thing going on, right? And Joe does too, though. Joe has this, like, also has a hardo thing going on where he's like, oh, like I do MMA and I like, it's my brother over there. He's the enemy. He like we're a bunch of orcas trying to hunt the seals, and he's got all his he's got all his little animal metaphors and everything. But I think the really important distinction, and I think one of the reasons why Joe has resonated so well with his players, is that there was a certain level with Ime of like challenging his own players to step up and be tougher and be stronger. Whereas I think Joe has sort of done this sort of tribal thing of like, it's us and there's them. And us right here, I love you. Like Jayson, I love you. Jaylen, I love you. Derrick, I love you. This like familial thing, right? This like, we are a family together and we are here to try to win together, and we're going to be tough and we're going to be strong and we're going to be stronger than them because they're the enemy, and we're going to, we're going to be fighters. Literally, we're going to learn how to fight. We're going to learn how to do why can't I think of the martial art that he does? Jiu-jitsu. We're gonna be like jiu-jitsu guys, and also wolves, and also orcas. Like it's kind of this like, like it's this crazy thing that totally works for him. I think one, because he is unbelievably himself in all of this, right? And his players see all that authenticity. And also two, because he is also demanding toughness and demanding all this stuff, but he's doing it in a very different, and I think honestly a far more effective way than Ime does. This I love you, I believe in you, I expect a lot out of you because I believe in you so much. Like that to me is very different than like, you need to toughen up, I prefer it a lot, which is one of the reasons why I think that Joe Mazzulla is a much better coach than Ime Udoka. But yeah, I don't know.
One of the things about Joe that's always struck me is just the way his brain works. And I'm going to say this in a way, like my brain kind of processes like things in the same kind of way. I'm not a lunatic like he is, because I think that's just a product of like upbringing and stuff like that. And so he's very much I need to test myself kind of thing. Like that's Joe. Joe needs to test himself. And I'm not that person where I need to I'm like, I know who I am. I don't need any kind of tests. I'm very well aware of all of that stuff. But the stuff that he says about like the orcas and the wolves and all that stuff, that's just analogy stuff. And that's where my brain goes. And so I've always understood Joe and some of like where he's going, the machine guns and the war sounds and stuff. Like I get it. I kind of get why he's doing it. I get the stuff that he's trying to accomplish. Playing spike ball, I'm like, okay, yeah, that actually makes sense to me. So Joe, as I said in the last podcast, is much smarter than me when it comes to the basketball stuff. But the philosophical stuff, I get it. I understand it. So from the beginning, I'm like, I'm on board with this guy. I see what he's trying to do, and it works. And it works, like you said, it works because of the authenticity. He is unabashedly himself. He is himself. And when the guys see that, it's just first of all, it's funny because you're like, we're what? We're watching killer whales? All right. But you hear Al Horford talk about that last year or 2 years ago, and he's like, yeah, he showed it to us, and you're like, man, it made sense. And all of a sudden the killer whale is now my favorite animal, So that's the Joe. Like I will take a Joe Mazzulla, and I will have that interaction with him a million times where you ask him a question and he just gives you nothing, or like what he did to Bobby Manning.
I was going to say sometimes very literally nothing.
Yeah. What he did to Bobby Manning, like Bobby asked the question they had already asked the day before. And so he was just pushing him again on it. And I understand why he had to do it. But like Joe was just like, I'm not answering that because I've answered that. And you've asked now 10 different ways. You're not getting an answer out of me. So at this point, I'm literally not going to answer you. And he's just sit there. And I'll take that. Yeah. I will take that as a member of the media, because I'm like, at least this is who he is. Mm-hmm. And the challenge is on me. The challenge is on us to be like, all right, let's let's find a different way to connect. Let's find a different way to ask the question. Let's find something else where that relationship grows. And if it means he and his coaches have to decimate us by 1,000 points in a pickup game, then so be it. Today's show is brought to you by Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. Now that's when the pressure is on and you need to make the right hire. That's where sponsored jobs from Indeed comes in. Indeed sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. You're finding the right person. This is much like putting a basketball team together. You would never expect Brad Stevens to hope to find the right player. He's doing all the scouting. So is Indeed sponsored jobs. And in the minute that I'm talking to you, 27 hires have been made around the world, according to Indeed data. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who actually check off all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing the candidates with less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. You will get $75 of sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. You're an everydayer. You're with me every Monday through Friday. You're with me on these bonus podcasts when they come up. Now join the Locked On Celtics Everydayer Club at lockedonceltics.supercast.com. You'll get ad-free audio available on all major podcast apps like Apple and Spotify. You get a members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for Celtics fans and NBA fans. It's all at lockedonceltics.supercast.com. It's $5 a month, $50 for the year if you want to do that. So go check that out. I'll leave the link in the show notes as well.
It's so funny to have like this conversation now because like how many months ago was it? Like, I was so unimpressed by him doing that. Like, I just thought that it was like, I don't know. To me, there was something so, I don't know, grade school about it. Like, yeah, what, you gonna write mean things about us? We'll come. We're gonna put buckets on you. And it's like, yeah, of course you are. You're like, look, like you guys are all. I don't know. That whole thing rubbed me the wrong way. And you know, again, here we are. I mean, on the last podcast, we're both just like, no, Joe Mazzulla is the coach of the year. I'm sorry, he is. Like, you know, if I'm going to criticize him, there it is. There's the thing I found that I'm going to criticize him about. I still think that media pickup game was stupid. Like,
I never looked at it that way. I just never saw it as a bullying thing. I saw it as a test. Whenever Joe does something like that, he's testing something somewhere, somebody. And that was it. That was testing us. And immediately after the game, and I was pissed in that moment. I was absolutely pissed off. But immediately after that game, his attitude towards us changed so much. He even said, I wish we can go grab a beer right now. What?
He could have, that, for what it's worth. A lot of lip service there. You absolutely could have, Joe. There's nothing stopping you.
We absolutely could have. Yeah, there are many places around there, but
quite close by.
But the whole thing was his brain works like he is constantly testing. He's testing his players. He's testing himself. He tests his coaches. I'm sure he tests Brad and the owners. And he tests me. Like, and he is in complete control of that environment. And he needs to know who is in my orbit. Who are you? And if you're going to be around me and my team, who are you? What are you made of? What's your deal? What's your motivation? And maybe from a media perspective, from an outside perspective, maybe from a fan perspective, you're like, well, who the hell is he to it's not on him to make that determination about you. And you're right if you're looking at it from that perspective, but he is trying to win a championship. And I and other media members surround his team all the time. And we talk and we develop relationships, and some media members are closer to certain players, and he doesn't know who is talking to, I don't know, Baylor Shireman, who's talking to Jaylen Brown, who's talking to any of these guys, right? And so if you're going to be around them, what's your deal? What are you made of? What's your motivation?
Yeah.
He needs to know all of that so he's got to protect his team. He's got to protect what he's trying to accomplish. And if one of us, he puts us through that game and somebody quits or somebody cries, somebody complains, that person is immediately going to be, he's going to have a tough time with that team. And nobody did. Not a single person did. And that's why his tone changed with us immediately. Still does the stare down thing and all of that. But that's how I see all of that stuff.
Yeah,
so
that's fair. That's fair. I think for me, I would have been like catatonic. Like I would have been so angry. Like, I would have had a very difficult time. Like I would have been nonverbal. You know what I mean? Like after that game, like I just would have been so mad. So I'm like, for me, I like look at that game and I'm like, boy, I don't know how I would have I don't know how I would have presented to Joe Mazzulla after that game. So
he would have loved that. That's what he wanted. That's what he wanted. He wanted you to be mad about it. And I know we've played basketball together. Yeah. You would have done the same thing the rest of us were trying to do. You would have been like, MF this guy. And, I need to find a way to get a shot off. I know I can shoot. I'm just going to pull from here. I'll be so mad. Like I threw a towel at Joe. I wanted to throw an elbow at Joe, but I'm too old and fat. I couldn't catch him. So that's like, and I told him after the game, I was trying like hell to elbow you. He was like, oh, I wish you would have, like that's who he loves that. He wants that. He liked the fact that I pushed Jack Simone out of bounds because I was pissed that he got an offensive rebound on me. And I was intentionally fouling him, and I gave him a little something extra. And Joe loves that because it's like competitive. So you being nonverbal and all that stuff, he'd be like, he's competitive. Joe's biggest takeaway from that was all of these people love basketball. They love the game basically as much as we do. And you would have shown that in that situation too. And the takeaway is, well, they're just media members. They're just not great basketball players,
right?
Like you're around the 15 of the best basketball players in the world, and like I said, I'm in my 50s. My best basketball is decades ago, and so but my brain, your brain, everybody else's brain is still competitive, and that's what he wanted to see. And so that he got what he wanted out of it, and we've moved on. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. You ever want to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? I've done it. It's great. Highly recommended. FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. You use a profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. So that's everything. That's flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking to check out the board and see which team can make a deep run or which can grab a conference title, it's a perfect time to lock it in and add like that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. It's going to be an interesting kind of scenario, especially out west with injuries and stuff. So now check it out. Maybe you win and you get yourself a trip to the NBA Finals on top of it. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future to get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. When you sign up, they will ask you to set your limit, set your budget. Do that so you can gamble responsibly and play your game at FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Well, and it's fascinating too, right? Because it's like you think about that in terms of what he gets out of his players, and it's I don't know, man. It's interesting because like he got that out of you guys, right? And that was after like that was one game, one interaction where he wanted something specific. He wanted information about you guys, and he got it. Because look, for better, like I'm sorry, like I hate that we're just like this now, but he is pretty literally a genius, right? Like he is a basketball genius. I'm like, I don't think that's too over the top because for one thing, he's a basketball genius in the same way that like, to a greater degree, right? Than players are basketball geniuses. Like we would call players basketball geniuses. Joe is very obviously at that level and beyond, right? It's very interesting to just think about the ways, he got that from you guys in like what, an hour, however long you guys were out there, an hour and a half. Just imagine what he gets a training camp with these guys. He gets practices with these guys. He gets shoot arounds with these guys. He gets film with these guys. Like all this stuff, his never ceasing basketball brain that just goes and goes and goes and grinds and grinds and thinks and thinks and thinks. He gets to just like, take that out on, like you said, 15 of the best basketball players in the entire world. And they get to try to do something together. And I think that to me is one of the interesting things about Mazzulla. And one of the reasons why I think he is so special is because when we see that the product of him putting that nonstop basketball brain and putting that to work along with 15 other players, they're just really good. Like we just said on the podcast that we finished up, there are no weaknesses on that team. And so much of that has to do with Mazzulla. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's able to just like this whole thing is just this perfect little sandbox for him. This thing that he loves and is obsessed with. He's got the perfect sandbox for it.
He's a genius because of two things. One, the preparation, the work. He studies and processes and remembers, and he studies soccer and baseball and all that stuff, and he can see the parallels. So that's number one. He prepares maniacally. Number two, I go back to the two things that he always says. Nobody cares, and it doesn't matter. This is where I think the smartest people can, if you can get to this place, you will unlock so much of your brain. Because I'm willing to bet, and this is just in life, 90% of the things that you think matter don't matter. I sound like Rick Sanchez. All the things that you think matter don't matter. And it's so true. There are actually, when you think about it, so few things that matter, that actually influence your life. But we put up these things, what other people think of us, what this person, the stuff that I'm wearing, the stuff that people, I've got to tweet this thing. I've got to respond to this thing. And it's like, none of this matters. And actually nobody cares. And if you can get to that spot, then you get to the clarity of, well, what does actually matter? That's where Joe gets what he needs. That's where he connects with these guys. Because when you chip away at all the extraneous stuff, you've now eliminated hours and hours and hours of conversations and thoughts, intrusive thoughts, things that waste your time, things that distract you, things that make you procrastinate because your brain is always processing. It's like taking a computer and stripping all of the stuff that comes on to just stripping it down to like 3 programs that you need. You're like, man, this thing works really, really fast now because it's not cluttered anymore. That is the genius of Joe Mazzulla. He gets to the heart of things. He gets to what matters with each individual player, and that's what you focus on. So when the rest of us are looking at Celtics Lakers and saying, wow, how awesome was it that Pat Riley went up there and said it? By the way, his reaction was amazing. But like, Joe doesn't go rah, hey, this is Celtics Lakers, step up and make this a special one. Because as he said after the game, we got to do this again against Phoenix. Mm-hmm. So if you make this Lakers thing, like, that's great, and it's an honor and a blessing to be part of this rivalry, but we treat it the same way as every other game, because now you got to go to Phoenix and do the same thing. And if you make this game more, then the Phoenix game becomes less, and then you put yourself in a position to treat it as less, and now you start losing these games. That's why the Celtics keep winning. That's why the Celtics keep playing well on a back-to-back. You don't give them the excuse. You don't give them that thing. You just get to the heart of what matters. You focus on these important things. You do that job well, and you move on. That's why they are so good.
Yeah, and I think that, you see a lot of Lakers people on social media or whatever, speaking of things that don't matter, social media, but you see a lot of Lakers people on social media talking after the game about, like, man, the Celtics are just so disciplined. And I think that is just right at the heart of what you're saying, is like that concept of discipline, I think, can be really like misunderstood sometimes as like, no, you get up and you do the things that you don't want to do. And it's like, no, like, the thing about discipline is that you get up and do the things that you should do, like the things that matter, right? You just do them over and over and over and over and over again. And that's the Celtics, right? They just okay, we know that we need to be a good offensive rebounding team, because maybe our defensive like we just talked about, turns out they're just good at that too, because they don't have any weaknesses. But at the start of the season, they weren't a good defensive rebounding team. So it's like, okay, that means that we have to crash the glass, because then we can make up some of those margins, right? So, okay, we're going to crash. We're going to crash. We're going to get offensive rebounds. We're going to work at it. We're going to work at it. We're going to work at it. And they did. They were quite good at that. And they made up those margins. They did these things that Joe correctly identified that matter. And again, I mean, like culture, right? That's what Joe has instilled there. That culture of that level of discipline that isn't just get up and do the things you don't want to do. It's get up and do the things that matter and do them again, and then do them again, and then do them again. And look what happens. Because if you just keep doing the things that matter, you end up as the number 2 seed without your best player in the lineup. So I don't know, man. He's something. He's quite good at this.
He is very good at this. It's look, he's been through a fair amount in life, and he himself has been in dark places. You know what I mean? And he had to come to grips with, he got himself into trouble. Like he his entire career, his entire life could have been derailed, and you have to come out of that on the other side and be like, why was I like that? Why did I do this? And you got to pay the price, turn around, and be a better person. Just because you've made a mistake doesn't mean you can't pay for that mistake and come out of it and be like, I understand why I did that. I'm correcting that, and I'm going to be a good person, a better person. And that,
go back to the therapy, Celtics. I love it.
And that's it. That's it. But that's Joe. Joe is a therapy coach. Joe, everything Joe talks about, that's therapy, man. And he does it in an extreme way. It's very bro therapy in a way, it's still therapy, man. That's Joe Mazzulla, the bro therapy coach.
Love it.
That's the best way to put it, right?
Yep. Whereas Ime Udoka sends you to therapy by belittling you. So.
Right. That's the thing. That's where that's a good way to put it. Like Ime isn't like he worries about some of those things that he's just a very Ime is the old school guy. Like Joe is the new school version, the remake of the same attitude. It's the same elements. Mm-hmm. It's just it's Ime with therapy.
That's it, man. Like
it really is Ime with therapy.
Yeah.
Man, we should have had better help on this sponsor.
Go to therapy, guys.
Seriously, go to therapy. That's it. Yeah. Therapy helps. Therapy.
It does. You two guys right here who can attest to how much therapy can help. I 100% can tell you that therapy helps.
Oh my God. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Good place to end it, man. This is good stuff. This was good. I'm glad we did this one. Tom, appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you.
That was a good conversation. What is it about the bonus podcast? We just play looser. But that was good. We were going to talk about that in the main podcast. And I said, no, let's break this out. And I'm glad we did, because that was good. All right. I hope you enjoyed that. The podcast, these bonus podcasts are not normally full podcasts, or there's not. I want to keep them to like 15, 20 minutes or so. This is a little bit of something extra, but hey, sometimes you just get to talking. And as you can tell right now, my mouth will not stop moving until I tell it to stop. I just keep on going and going, and nobody cares. This doesn't matter. So I'm going to wrap it up and say thank you for being here for this bonus podcast. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being an everydayer, joining me Monday through Friday. These bonus podcasts can happen anytime during the week. Plus Friday night, Saturday night, when they play like they do Friday against Brooklyn, there will be a post-game podcast there as well. So subscribe and share the podcast. Please tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day.